children, in this video we're going to be looking at main clauses and subordinate clauses. So first of all, what is a clause? A clause is a group of words that includes a verb. Sentences are made using clauses. So we use them all the time in our writing and we read them all the time in our reading books, but we don't usually realise what they are. So the first type of clause is the main clause. So these types of clauses make sense when they are used on their own. So for example, she was eating a cheese sandwich. So it makes sense on its own. Now, subordinate clauses are types of clauses that need to be with a main clause so that they make sense, because on their own they don't. So, for example, we left the table, which is the main clause in this sentence. So we could use we left the table on its own and it would make sense. The subordinate clause is when we had finished eating. So the subordinate clause adds more information to the main clause. So now it's your turn. So which of these are main clauses and which ones are subordinate clauses? So these they don't have a capital letter, usually, unless it's an I, so that I can see if you can spot them. Okay, so I've purposely done that. You might have noticed that straight away. Okay, so just pause this video and have a go at seeing if you can spot which ones are main clauses and which ones are subordinate clauses. Remember, main clauses make sense on their own, and subordinate clauses add extra information to a sentence and they don't make sense on their own. Okay. So how did you get on? So the red chair is my favourite is a main clause because that makes sense on its own. I can't wait to go on holiday is also a main clause because again it makes sense on its own. But I am not allowed is a subordinate clause because we would add that onto a sentence to give it a little bit more information, and it doesn't make sense on its own. Because I am tired is again a subordinate clause because it would give extra information to a main clause. Rabbits like eating lettuce, that would make sense on its own, so that's a main clause. Okay, so hopefully you got those. Okay, so this time, can you join these main and subordinate clauses by using suitable conjunctions? Now, there is a YouTube video on conjunctions, so have a look at that if you haven't already seen it. So remember conjunctions like because, although, so, but, yet. Okay, so there's before, after. So there's lots and lots of examples. So think of which conjunctions you would use to join these main and subordinate clauses. So we've got Fred was very happy, something he found is missing glasses. I brushed my teeth, something I went to bed. The children ate their lunches, something they'd washed their hands. I tried to speak, something I had no voice. We waited outside the classroom, something the teacher arrived. So think of some suitable conjunctions that would make sense in those sentences. Pause the video and have a go. Right, so hopefully you've had a little go at that. Now, don't forget, there could be more than one conjunction as long as it makes sense. But these are the ones that I've come up with. The more obvious ones that I think would go to join these two clauses together, the main clause with the subordinate clause. So Fred was very happy because he found his missing glasses. Okay. I brushed my teeth before I went to bed. The children ate their lunches after they'd washed their hands. I tried to speak, but I had no voice. We waited outside the classroom until the teacher arrived. So in each of these examples, Fred was very happy would make sense on its own. So that's the main clause. This bit is the subordinate clause because he found his missing glasses. It's giving information as to why Fred is happy. I brushed my teeth. That would be a main clause because it makes sense on its own. Before I went to bed, again, before I went to bed is giving more information about when it happened. The children ate their lunches. The children ate their lunches is a main clause. It would make sense on its own. The subordinate clause is after they had washed their hands. That, again, is giving more information about when it happened. So I tried to speak would be a main clause because it would make sense on its own, but I had no voice. So again, that would give more information about the main clause. We waited outside the classroom. Again, that would be a main clause because it would make sense on its own. Until the teacher arrived, gives more information about that main clause there, okay? Okay, so try to make up some main clauses using the words given in the table. So you've got to add some extra words to the sentence. You've got you've got to use these words that are given. Okay, so in the first one, cat chasing mouse. Okay, so what main clause would you come up with here? Elephant's long trunks. Which main clause would you come up with here? My favourite snack. Which main clause would you come up with here? So remember, main clauses make sense on their own. Okay, so these are just main clauses. They're not ones with subordinate clauses added on, okay? So pause the video and have a go at that. Right, so how did you do? So here are my examples. So we got cat chasing mouse, and I've put the cat was chasing the mouse. Okay. I've not put why the cat was chasing the mouse or what happened. That's just a main clause on its own. Elephants' long trunks. Elephants swing their long trunks. Okay. Or you could have elephants have long trunks. Okay. So your sentences might be slightly different. But that's fine. My favourite snack. My favourite snack to eat is an apple. Okay. So again, you might put, if you wanted to add a subordinate clause, you might put why it's your favourite snack to eat. You might say my favourite snack to eat is an apple. That's the main clause. And then you might put because it is a healthy choice as your subordinate clause. Okay. So as you can see, these sentences make sense. They're the main clauses because they make sense on their own. Okay. So now you're going to have a go at adding your own subordinate clauses to these main clauses. So you've got Charlie ran into the garden, which is a main clause, and then you've got the conjunction because. So you've got to finish that subordinate clause off at the end. Okay. So think about why Charlie went into the garden, ran into the garden. We waited at the bus stop until. So again, we waited at the bus stop is the main clause, and then you're going to start with your subordinate clause with the conjunction until, okay, to finish the sentence. So pause the video, have a go at that, and then I'll show you my examples. Again, your examples might be slightly different, but that's fine. Right, so here are my examples then. So I put Charlie ran into the garden because he wanted to play football. Okay, so you might have put a different reason. That's fine, as long as it makes sense. As long as this bit of the subordinate clause makes sense with the main clause, that's fine. We waited at the bus stop until the bus arrived to take us into town. Again, you might have a different ending for your subordinate clause. But as long as it goes with the main clause, that's fine as well. Okay, so hopefully now you're a little bit more confident with identifying those main and subordinate clauses. There are quite a lot of sheets included on main and subordinate clauses in the home learning packs. So hopefully this will help you to do that work. And if you're in school, again, you will be taught this in class as well. So hopefully watching these will give you a bit more confidence at completing this work.